Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Onward, the Pixar movie that doesn't actually look like a Pixar movie.
Yeah, it kind of, like I said, it looks like Weekend at Bernie's meets Full Metal Alchemist.
It looks like a DreamWorks movie to me. It doesn't really look very Pixar. But we're not talking about the movie itself. We're going to talk about Disney and another lawsuit or allegations of IP theft. This seems to happen once or twice a year that Disney is accused of stealing something.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's really interesting because it's not the movie concept, it's the van art.
Yeah, Guinevere the van looks like it was stolen. The van has a name.
The van has a name.
Mm-hmm.
Guinevere.
It's Guinevere. Guinevere the van was based on Vanicorn.
Vanicorn.
Yes, supposedly. So I'll explain here in a minute. But before that,
we're over 91,000 subs, hoping for 100,000 soon, guys. We talk about pop culture. We talk about anything we want to talk about. Animation and Star Wars and Star Trek and Doctor Who and what we've been talking
Disney
about. A lot of Disney, talking about anime, whatever interests us that day. And this is pretty interesting because you were thinking usually it's someone accusing Disney of stealing a character or stealing a concept for a movie. But this is a van.
Yeah, it's a van, but they actually might have a kind of a strong case here. So, yeah, I did this article earlier today on piratesandprincesses.net. The original story was in the Hollywood Reporter. So basically what happened is there was an artist named Cicely, I don't know how to say her name.
Danaher?
I don't know, Danaher. But I don't know how you say her name, sorry. She had a van that's called the Vanicorn.
The Vanicorn.
Okay. So apparently Disney contacted her. They wanted to rent the van back in September of 2018 for a special event. And she was told that the Vanicorn would be used for an event limited to a one-day music festival activity for Pixar employees and families. And the Vanicorn would be a showpiece that would not be used any other way other than a visual prop. Okay?
Right.
So she let them rent out the van. And then she found out May 31st, which is probably when they released the trailer, that there's a van that looks a lot like hers, but it's not exact because one's a unicorn, one's a Pegasus, one's a diamond window, triangle window, one's a moon. But, there's an awful lot of, even a logo placement for the vehicle.
Yeah, is it influenced by, I'm sure it absolutely is influenced by the van, but I'm also like...
Oh, wait, it gets better.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So she posted this on Instagram, followed by, and I'm quoting, "Well, shit. This is like on the 3rd of June or whatever. The producer of Onward just called me. She wanted to know how I'm feeling and to apologize. She also wanted to tell me that when they rented my van without disclosing their full intentions or plans. And she's so sorry for that."
Whoopsie doopsie. Okay, never mind.
So just tried to smooth things over the phone call instead of putting their art department to work or asking. So there's all this stuff they have that they could possibly prove that that's the case. However, its design is very different, similar, but different. And I don't know. I mean, knowing how the law can work, especially when it comes to this kind of stuff, and knowing how Disney covers their ass so well.
Yeah, here's the thing, because I think if they had not called her and basically admitted that they did it, that's one thing.
Well, she says.
She says. Does she have any record of this call?
I'm assuming, because she wouldn't have gone and filed it. So she filed a lawsuit on Monday, the 27th, apparently.
Right. And
this is what is going on with that. So they said that they're suing for copyright infringement, violation of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, violation of the Visual Arts Rights Act, and violation of the California Artists Protection Act. She's asking for an injunction to stop Disney from promoting, selling, marketing, advertising, shipping, transporting, directly or indirectly, or otherwise moving in domestic or foreign commerce, any and all defendants' advertisements, promotions, and or merchandising material, and or products, and or the motion picture entitled Onward, and products which infringe upon plaintiffs' copyrighted work. But there's going to be a huge problem because they actually made a van that looks just like it, and it's already on a press tour around the country. That's how I knew the name was Guinevere.
Oh.
Disney has already put out a mug at their parks with the van on it. I guarantee
they'll waste any time.
They're launching I want to say it's on the 10th of February. They're launching the whole Onward, buy our merch on Shop Disney. And I'm pretty sure it's February 10th.
Oh, wow.
I think it's the 10th. So this is all coming down. I don't think that they're going to, after all the money Disney paid for marketing, damn well that she's not going to get an injunction.
They might
settle
and make her go away. Lifetime passes to Disney parks to see her van in the parks.
Well, I don't know, but she's filing a lawsuit over it. Damages are to be determined, which is not unusual because they don't know what damages are going to be until they get into court and they can actually sit down and look at what potential damages could be, meaning that what money they're making off of her stuff. But actually, it's probably just going to boost the demand for her van. But
that's true.
I don't know, but we've seen this before with Disney. This isn't new.
Yeah,
Disney does this.
This is actually very, very common, and you got to realize too. I mean, when people are talking about Disney stole XYZ thing, we showed you that chart before with that mouse-shaped Death Star. Mm-hmm. There are thousands of people who work at Disney, so it's not like the company itself is doing this. It's individuals within the company.
Usually it's someone trying to make a name for themselves in the company is usually the person that is most likely to do it.
If in this case she has a record that she was actually called by the producer, then that's an acknowledgement that that's what they planned on doing with the van. But it could also be argued that this style of, I'm just benefit of doubt, this style of van was very common in the 70s and early 80s, and that's what they were going for. And it could literally be any van.
But why would you rent this van for one day that happened to be at a Pixar event, and then this movie comes out? Then it also says in her contract, I didn't read this part. They said, this part's hilarious, I have to read that later. But they said that the contract for the van rental explicitly prohibits any photos, video, or visual representation of the Vanicorn for any purpose other than that event.
Well, if somebody at Pixar signed the contract, they'll probably just, I'll tell you the truth. I think this is going to disappear. Disney has, something like this, they might just be like, kick her a couple $1 million and we're done.
Probably, because they've already spent how many millions on promoting this thing. Like I said, they actually have, here, look it up. They actually have their own van. You look up Onward, Guinevere.
Oh. Okay, so yeah, I see this.
They actually made a van, and is it the same kind of make of the van? And it's going on tour. I think they had it like D23. Yeah, D23, and I know they've been bringing it other places. So there's the van. Her van also has like shag carpet. It's lined in red.
Okay.
And then this one is too. I mean, hers has a white ceiling. This one they had a red ceiling in it, but there's a lot of similarities.
I mean,
her van.
If this was actually, look, if she can,
so they already have toys.
Oh yeah, they
the van on it.
Well, then, if they signed the contract that they weren't allowed to use the likeness of the van, and they basically lied to her to get her to bring the van to the event at Pixar, so the artist could, get a bunch of pictures of it to make basically their own version of it, then I think she's absolutely...
but people, the apologists were already on her Instagram posts going like, you need to let it go. It's clear you're there. It's a Pegasus. Yours is a unicorn. I knew they had pins. They're like, you just need to knock it off. You already have enough money. You don't need Disney's money too.
Wait, you don't need... I love this. These people, they're so funny.
Disney could kick a kitten.
Poor Disney. Poor little Mickey. He's just, golly, that poor little fella. You're just going to rob him blind, aren't you?
Yeah, and here's the thing. Disney has been in trouble before for things like Kimba the White Lion, which if you put parts of the movie frame for frame, it's exactly like the cartoon.
Look at the ears.
Everything was very similar. They even have sequences that are very, very, very similar.
Characters, even the ensemble cast, the uncle, it is basically a remake.
Well, they talked to Matthew Broderick, and he said, I thought it was Kimba. I didn't know it wasn't until later. He's like, because I told her I was doing Kimba when I remember it as a kid, because it was just like it.
Yeah.
So,
and this is where IP law gets very, very tricky. And this is where a lot of these big studios, because what happens is people seem to think, and we're kind of running into situations with this. And we've talked to other people who have been in lawsuits with situations. And sometimes, people are like, well, just sue them. And sometimes it's not that easy.
Or it's not financially worth it.
It's not worth it. You could sue. I mean, what would they do? I mean, do they have the money? Did Tezuka have the money to sue?
But you notice how they never countersue back to the people who, like if they take something that's like it's copied, they never sue them for copying them because they know they'll lose, and then it'll be brought to light that they stole it from them because they had it first.
Yeah.
But I mean, then we had the Zootopia incident where that was at court twice.
Yeah, this one's a little more dubious. Okay, so Kimba, Simba, look, because I mean, I guess Walt Disney was talking to them about doing...
Oh, Astro Boy.
Yeah, he actually wanted to do... I think he wanted to do Simba. So I have to look into it more, but
He wanted to do Astro Boy.
Yeah, but he was a fan of his work. With Zootopia, the deal was, as I understand it, that the guy actually pitched, and he was a screenwriter in Hollywood, he actually pitched damn near the same story with anthropomorphic characters, but it got shot down. But I guess one of the people that I think that looked at it basically was one of the producers on the movie.
And this happens a lot. And here's the thing. When you pitch like shows, and we know we've done it, you have to usually agree that if they're gonna look at it, that you can't accuse them of stealing things now. We had to sign that. And also, and you laugh because we did.
Yeah.
And also, there's a lot of studios, people are like, well, how do I pitch to a studio? A lot of times you can't. Unless somebody's, you know somebody there, or you have an agent that represents you or something to get into the studio. A lot of times you can't just pitch to studios. They won't look at it because they're afraid of being accused of taking it. And in a lot of cases that they'll have you sign something saying that if something comes out similar down the road, it's just an accident and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, let's talk about a couple of things here. One, yeah, it is entirely true because I've heard stories before of people who had like really obscure like web comics that like nobody was reading this, and all of a sudden there's like a comic book out from a publisher that that they never would have seen this web. That's somewhat like mine. They stole my thing, and it's like,
well, how about Ted?
Well, okay, that's I actually will give you that one. I'm not talking because Ted actually was based on. I'm trying to remember the creator. Well, we don't know. No, Ted supposedly wasn't based on. But the cartoonist who did that had I think it was Imagine This, Imagine That.
I don't remember what it was.
Imagine That with a bear that was grumpy like Ted and whatever, and he's like, well, I think you stole my movie idea.
It's very similar. And we've had it happen. We have people we know that have had things happen.
Yes.
Where it was interesting coincidences after you pitch things.
Yeah, there was one person, it was really interesting, speaking of comics and stuff, they actually had a comic online, and then a book came out from a publisher, and it turned out
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
They were represented. Now, in this case, you can draw the connection.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and tell them what happened.
Because it was the agent that was representing them to get their book picked up, basically dropped them, took the idea, went with another person, and pitched that book idea to the publisher, and then they're like, oh, it's not.
And the person was trying to see the publisher. The thing is, it wasn't the publisher's fault in that case. It was the agent's fault because the publisher might not have even known. But that totally happened. I remember that. We were around when that went down.
But it usually is standard, and this is why they want you to pitch through the proper channels with an agent or whatever, because anybody...
Well, he did.
Yeah, he did. But it lessens the chances of... Lessons. I'm not saying it just completely gets rid of the chances, but it does lessen the chances of there being accusations that they didn't pick up your product.
Yeah, and we know that Disney takes inspiration in quotes from other places. We see people on Etsy selling things, and then suddenly here comes Disney with something almost exactly like it.
All the time.
And then they'll win because they'll be like, well, it's actually our property. It's our IP. They were selling it illegally. We ourselves actually pitched something before, and it was not picked up. However, I'm not going to name things what it was.
No, I don't want to.
But they had another program that already was picked up, and it was written and it had a title of one way. After our pitch, it changed, and the title became very similar to what our pitch was, as well as some of the elements in the story that weren't that way before. So It happens.
It's possible. We can't, and I'll tell you the story with that. It's possible that they cherry picked some of the elements they liked from our treatment and put it into this other show.
Mm-hmm.
However, here's the thing. We took the option money and we signed the paperwork, eyes open, and it said specifically in the contract with Disney, like, you cannot go back on them in the future if they just happen to come up with something similar.
And they had picked this other show up first, but the write-up and the name and everything were different.
Right.
And then it was changed after our pitch. Now, that was not the showrunner's fault. It was an established showrunner. I'm not going to say who it was, but it was an established individual. And it wasn't their fault. I'm sure it was brought to them and told them they should make these changes. They had nothing in it because they didn't even see our pitch. It's just it's awfully coincidental. We know some other people who had a similar situation in the exact same circumstances that our pitch was in. Also, this is going to seem weird, but everybody talks about Treasure Planet.
Oh.
This is a funny story, but you know what? Another one is it coincidental? Who knows? But it's really weird. Okay, this is back before Kneon even met me. But when he first met me, he showed me some of his artwork and sent it to me. And then we got married, and then Treasure Planet was out, and I was watching it, and I was like, wow, that's weird. It looks so much like your stuff. I'm like, even that space station looks like the one you drew, like, before we got married.
The moon.
The moon and all that. I'm like, this looks like a lot like yours. This really looks a lot like yours. And then it turned out, when I told him that and pointed it out, he's like, oh, that explains it. What? Well, around the time they were designing and developing this movie, he was getting a bunch of hits on his site from Disney.
Yeah, it's okay. Now we're talking old internet here. We're talking back in the 90s.
But not a lot of people used it like they do now.
Right. So, but this is before.
But you used to build sites.
I did
so you knew what to look for.
I used to hand code websites. I also used to have some really good tracking software where it would sync up the IP address with the company. And the reason I did that is because I was sending out comic book pitches, and I wanted to see if Marvel or DC was actually on my site looking at my stuff. But I kept getting constantly Disney, Walt Disney Studios.
And it was hitting those images.
It was hitting those images, and I'm like, why is Disney on my page? I have never sent anything to them. This is before I worked on Disney comics or anything. I'm like, I have never done anything. So
and it wasn't just once or twice.
No, it went on for weeks.
Right.
Like, we had Disney people. I had Disney people on my site. My site didn't get a lot of traffic. Basically, you either had to find me through, back then, Yahoo was a thing. You had to find the site through Yahoo because I had some free comics on it before webcomics were a thing. Or you had to get the link directly if I sent a package out to like Marvel or DC or Image or whoever I was sending stuff to back then. But yeah, I was getting all kinds of hits from Disney, and I thought it was weird.
Again, it could be coincidence.
Totally could be a coincidence.
We're looking at each other like, it's probably not. But, it was years ago anyway. But my point is, this is not something that, this has been brought out to the media's attention before. There's been other cases. So this is not something that you would think is beyond the realm of happening. I mean, this is totally something that could happen.
Right.
Especially since they rented that exact same damn van.
Yeah, that's
for a Pixar event.
That's what's going to get them. Because if they had not rented that van, and they saw a picture of the van on the internet and they changed it so it was like a parody of that van, I don't think there would be any issue.
They did make a parody of that van, but...
Right, but you don't have much of a defense because it's like, wait, you brought the damn van to Pixar and now they're using it for...
Including some of the details like the red carpets and stuff like that. Right. And you can see the red carpet on the inside of the door. And on the pictures of the animation, not in this one, but other ones, you can see the red carpet inside. I mean, what were the odds of picking red, Yeah. But then this is where it gets funny, though. Down here, the reason they're saying that she's so upset. This is a quote. They have altered the plaintiff's highly personal and public transubstantiation, I can't even read, of her lifelong artistic interest in unicorns into the Vanicorn, a uniquely San Franciscan work of public mobile automotive art and a redemptive and validating act of recovery from toxic masculinity.
Wait, what?
And a former marriage.
What does that have to do with anything?
Absolutely nothing. And which has instead been pilfered by the defendants as a commercial and corporate conduit for the aspirations of a pair of blue boy elves looking for their father in a mass-marketed Disney film, and was accomplished by the I think it's supposed to be defendants, but I missed the D, under wickedly misleading pretenses.
Okay, that actually kind of okay. If I were a judge. I'm like, okay, just show me where the van went to Pixar.
Show me, did she call you? What happened?
Right, we'll call it a day. But now that you have to bring in toxic masculinity, and now, so what they're going for...
They're going to go for emotional damages?
Emotional damage. I tell you the truth. I would be like, I mean, other than they signed an agreement that they weren't going to steal the stuff, but if Disney was like, hey, your van was cool enough to put into a movie... I'd be kind of like, I guess that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is kind of cool, but they shouldn't have used it. And then they're banking on it. They're making all kinds of toys.
That's where it gets tricky.
And everything else. So her art, and she had hired, I guess, an artist to do it. I'm assuming, because I think I saw a tweet or a post where the artist that did it was talking about how his son at the commercials like, Dad, there's that van you painted, So... their bank, her complaint and where her damages are going to come in is the fact that they are making a crap ton of merchandise based on the van. The van itself has a name and is a character. It is a character in this film, and they're merchandising the hell out of it. And she's not getting anything from it, but they got the idea from her. Is what her argument is.
Well, I think that, again, you can make that argument without having to throw in the toxic masculinity.
I know that they're just trying to play the, little violin.
Yeah, I think at this point, I'll tell you what's going to happen. I mean, this is my personal opinion based on what I've seen in the past. They will throw some money at her and she'll disappear, and you'll never hear anything about it again, because one of the conditions of taking that money, that mouse money, is usually you shut up and go away, and you're not allowed to talk about it anymore. And that's what'll happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guarantee you're right. There's going to probably be a settlement because they don't have time for an injunction.
No.
They have a movie coming out on March 6th.
The stuff was being manufactured in China.
It's already made.
Ago. Yeah,
it's ready to go. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's already being made. I'll show you. I'm pretty sure it's the 10th. I want to say it's the 10th of February. Onward arriving February 10th. They have the merchandise made. We already seen pictures of the little toy sets with the car. We know there's a mug already released at the parks. It looks like the van. There's a pin apparently. There's gonna be a shit ton of merch. Know there's gonna be, because Disney is gonna merchandise the hell out of it, because that's what Disney does.
Yep, and making their problems go away.
So all the merch.
That's what they also do.
So the merch will probably show up in stores, I'm guessing, on the 10th as well. Then I'm guessing that's gonna be the release date in the stores too. So yeah, they're gonna totally settle it.
Yeah, they'll settle. I think they'll settle.
They're gonna want to go away quick.
Yeah, I think she does have a case, but I think she's trying to get, or the lawyer's trying to get a little extra gravy by throwing in the tiny violins.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was really necessary. I mean, except under the fact they were talking about when they were suing for the different things, one of them might have fallen into that. No, I guess it's California Artist Protection Act. I'm wondering if it has anything to do with that. But it's going to be for emotional suffering. Is probably what they're going to argue. Why just get damages for actual damages on merchandising when we can just go for emotional suffering? It's immeasurable.
Yeah, well, they're going to lay it on pretty thick. But I think, honestly, if the van was a Pixar, she absolutely has a case.
Do I honestly think they took it? Yes.
Yeah,
I totally think they did.
Well, like I said, in our case, we knew that there were elements that were very similar, but we signed the papers.
Yeah, so we
took the money. We signed the papers. There's nothing
live
we could
and learn,
do. Yeah,
and we knew that's what So we're fine with it.
Yeah.
We knew they were looking at your thing back when, but you were nobody. You were nobody back then. Not that you're like a huge somebody now, but you're much bigger somebody than you were then. And am I wrong?
I'm internet famous. Does that count for anything?
Yeah, I'm just infamous. So, that happened. It's a funny story, but would you actually do anything about it?
No. It's not worth it. I'm not going to win.
It's kind of a compliment, if anything else.
Yeah.
But,
there's no way to prove it.
But in this case, there's a way to prove it. And, it's not up to what we think. I mean, it's up to what the courts think, clearly.
Right.
And Disney, how much money they're willing to give based on how much they think it's true and she could win.
One last thing before we wrap this one up. We do know some folks who work for some law firms who do some work for Hollywood studios.
We know actually several.
Yeah. One law firm in particular, they will tackle any studio, but they will not go near Disney if at all possible.
Unless they have a solid something.
Because they're like, Disney has the best, most cutthroat lawyers in the freaking world. Mm-hmm. And you better have a damn good airtight case. Hence
the media on this, because, you want to get it out there to the media. You get it out there to the media, and you have at least public opinion on your side. They can't just sweep you under the rug and just say, you're getting nothing. So, I don't know. I honestly think they'll settle. It'll go away, like you said. It's too close to the movie release. They're just going to settle it.
Yeah,
they probably waited till now for that reason.
Probably. It's like, oh, it's too late to change it now. You've already got the merch, and here's the damages.
Because she found out and got the call in June of last year.
Yeah, so why'd she wait this long?
Yeah, so I'm just like, I'm thinking it's a case they probably expect them to settle.
Yeah, that's what I think is happening.
I mean, it's a crappy thing to do, but, hey, your van's famous.
I guess maybe you'll get more bookings now.
But she should get some of the money from the... I mean, they should... Normally, something like this, they would have cut her a deal where she would get part of the merchandising, royalties from the stuff because they used the likeness of something she had the rights to.
Yeah, but then that's one more thing they got to keep track of. You know what the worst case scenario would be? Disney flipped it around and tried to sue her for copyright infringement.
Well, see,
that would be the
that's
worst.
what I'm saying. But they don't do that with Kimba and stuff because they can prove they had it first.
Yeah.
In this case, she can prove
they
rented it, so they can't. I mean, that's why I'm saying it. Knowing how they are, they'll sue daycares over having stuff on their wall.
Done that. Yes, they have.
But they don't go after these people because they know damn well if they did.
Yep.
If they were innocent and they go after that, they predate. They would lose because it predates them, and then it could be flipped on them. It's just it is what it is. But normally, like I know that's why they don't do any more. They haven't done much more with Ever After and Giselle because they didn't have ownership of her likeness.
Oh, Amy Adams.
Yeah, so they weren't making toys, and she wasn't one of the princesses. Yep. And the reason she's not is because they couldn't actually copyright her likeness, and they would have to give her money to make more toys of her.
Even though the cartoon version of Giselle looks nothing like Amy Adams.
Doesn't matter. It's based on her, and they'd have to pay her every time they'd sell a toy, which is why they had toys when the movie came out. But you rarely ever see. They had a doll collection just recently. They had her in it, but almost always you hardly ever see her. And that's one of the reasons I read before why. I could be wrong. I mean,
no,
don't quote me on that. But,
I'm pretty sure it's a reason. But
so they would have had to have given her, if they would have been on the up and up, they would have had to have given her a percentage of sales based on this van. Yeah. And they didn't want to do that. So,
Well, now they're probably going to have to pay something just to shut her up and make her go away.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was an interesting story.
It is interesting.
It's not up to us to decide. It's up to the courts to decide, like we say with like other cases like the Vic Mignon and different things. It's not up to us. Here's the facts. Here's what's out there. You can make your own decision based on that. It's up to the courts.
Yeah, it's up to the courts.
And how much money Disney is willing to give to settle before the movie comes out.
It's probably cheaper to settle than it is to hire lawyers to fight it.
At this point, they don't have time to fight it. It comes out in March.
He's hot.
They don't have enough time to fight it because it comes out in like a little more than a month.
Yeah.
And February's a short month, so...
All right, well there you go, guys. Get your Guinevere merch before just in case something happens.
It's gonna be out.
It's not going anywhere.
February 2nd or 10th is when I'm guessing it's going to be hitting stores, so you can keep your eyes up for that. Also, make sure you check out piratesandprincesses.net if you like Disney news, because that's my blog.
Yeah, we're gonna be down in Disney for a couple days next week. We'll be doing some live streaming. Yeah, and we'll be doing some live streaming, and maybe some of you guys will check that out. Hopefully the rides break down. Well, actually, it'd be really interesting.
I don't want it to break down, so just hush now, because I was going to go on the Skyliner, so I really don't want that.
Yeah, we all get. Oh my God, wouldn't that be horrible?
Yeah, especially for you.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, you wouldn't like that because you don't like heights.
I don't mind heights. It's the dropping I don't like.
Okay, so you're swinging from a car. Actually, it'd probably affect me more. I like roller coasters.
I go on big ass Ferris wheels.
I won't do a Ferris wheel. Like I like roller coasters and stuff, and I'll ride that no problem. But like Ferris wheels, I hate. So I don't know how I'm going to be in the Skyliner.
I have zero problem with heights. I have a problem with being dropped from heights.
And see, dropping doesn't bother me.
Dropping makes me sick to my stomach.
So
I can't do it. I've tried Dramamine, everything.
This is a long video.
It is.
We're sorry for that.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.